the tower in the temple where Roman troops watched what was going on in the temple. The Roman guardhouse, he named it Antonia after Mark Antony. He named all this stuff to flatter his patrons and to consolidate himself in power and to make sure the Romans were pleased with him. So Caesarea was a new Roman seaport, and that's where the administration of the Roman governors took place. I think Mel Gibson has that one probably right. I think he portrays Pontius Pilate as not liking to go up to Jerusalem, preferring to hang out in Caesarea, which is probably true. And Jerusalem was a little bit too unsettled and a little bit too stressful to go up there that often. Send the troops up there, but I wouldn't put too many personal appearances in. It's like going into Najaf or someplace. I don't think that the American administrator likes to go walking around Najaf that much. You know, Najaf, the holy city of the Shiites in Iraq. So, you tend to stay out of holy cities if you don't want to cause riots. And of course, whenever the Roman governor or people who do go up there are riots. So the people are a bit like modern day Iraq, I'm afraid. It's a little bit like that. Pretty unruly and not at all the peaceful place, as I said, that Jesus in Galilee might seem to portray it as. So Eusebius comes from Caesarea on the coast to the 300s. By this time it is settled down, I'm sure. And he knows some Hebrew. And he likes to show off his knowledge. He goes to Rome ultimately. He becomes somehow involved with them, future Emperor Constantine. He becomes his private consultant, tutor, teacher, alter ego, whatever. And he promotes his form of Christianity in Constantine's mind. And Constantine uses Eusebius. I think Eusebius even has a life of Constantine that he wrote, another work of his, to develop the form of Christianity that he likes in the Roman Empire. And Eusebius organizes these various church councils, particularly the one at Nicaea, that really lays down 325 what Christianity was to become in the Roman Empire, and what was considered to some extent heretical, and what was going to be considered Orthodox. And that goes for Greek Orthodox as well as Catholic, because at that time the split hadn't occurred yet. So we're not talking about all establishment Christian groups, Greek, Russian, Latin, whatever, recognize the Council of Nicaea. I don't know about Protestant groups because they all have their own approach. And they're all somewhat different, but high Protestant groups probably recognize these things too. But Eusebius is very instrumental in this, and so when we look at Eusebius, we get the mindset of that Christianity that took over the Roman Empire. And to my case, and I'm perfectly willing to give the best motives to all religious people, Jews, Christians, Muslims, whoever, this is not a very attractive person here. And, I wouldn't want to hitch my horse to his wagon, frankly. In fact, if I saw this guy, I'd run a mile. But it's just a matter of taste there. And you'll have to...
Eusebius.
Yeah, Eusebius. He's a pretty gruesome person that comes through these things. And, someone who's psychologically stressed, put it kindly. He's sometimes all full of niceness and meekness and gentleness. Good. I think if you had met the Nazis in Germany in the 30s, you'd find a similar stress. That in the daily life, I'm sure someone like Goebbels and all these people were really nice. Hitler, they're just doing a new movie on Hitler, what a nice guy he was in his normal life. Yeah, I'm sure in normal things, these people were very, very nice. But when they got into certain subjects, their maniacal part of their personality came out, and you'll see Eusebius' maniacal part come out now and again as we move through. Anyway, so that was honored by the pious prophets of old, Jesus. It means Joshua. It was honored because he knows in Hebrew that Jesus is the name for Joshua, the Greek translation of Joshua. And so he gives some quotes here to show that Jesus and Joshua were honored. So in that paragraph, he says, he talks about Moses, and after his death in the government of the nation, he's read the Hebrew scripture to some extent. His successor, therefore, who had not assumed the term Joshua yet, Jesus, had been originally called Oshia, he says. which his parents had given him. And again, this is all very complicated, but he cites a passage here from Numbers 13:17 in my book, whether that's originally in the original text or it's been added by the editor, I don't know, I assume it's added. In any case, this is a very superior name that he finally gets here, Joshua, son of Nun. Well, I don't know all this that he's read into that, and I can't comment on it, but you see, he's really talking about that Jesus and Joshua are the same name or figure or of speech or meaning. And Joshua does mean he who saves, he who saves. He, in the case of Joshua, perhaps he who saves his people. Then he speaks about further on, and I guess it's Lamentations or someplace like that, about Christ the Lord and so on. But all those things would be the Jewish word Messiah. They don't really say Christ. And I guess something from Psalms. So he quotes different things. Show these are old names in the Hebrew lexicon. That's fair enough. So more passages towards the end of that section about the scepter of the kingdom. So he's finding all the messianic style quotations that you can take out of Scripture and maybe build up a picture of what the Messiah was. This last passage here, Psalms 106, in this chapter 3. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool. That is really a popular passage in all the Christian proof texts. Like, for instance, Hebrews uses that over and over again. And I think in the original Hebrew, though, it has a lot to do with warlikeness. Making your enemies into a footstool is not loving them. It's conquering them and making them submit. So, I mean, the original, I think, environment of that, as it comes out of the Old Testament, is, I wouldn't say violent, but in the context of a warring society. So I don't think it's in any way pacific as the later Christ becomes. So if you're going to apply it to a pacific Christ, you may be wrenching the meaning somewhat. I don't know if you are. The War Scroll in the Dead Sea Scrolls has a warlike ethos, and that uses similar passage to describe the leaders that it is promoting. I think the War Scroll would be, certainly obviously is, more of a Palestinian ethos. And the Gospels and the certain letters, particularly as I said, Hebrews like to use this.